What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's enjoying their day so far. We are back with another fantasy football mock draft, and this time looking at a specific strategy called the Hero Wide Receiver Draft Strategy. Now, if you already missed it, we went through several mock drafts already where we picked from the 101, the 105, and the 110 to give you a perspective of the early to mid in the late round, in the first round, and beyond. Looking at the format for today's mock draft is still going to be the same as we've done all the other mock drafts, where it's a 10-team PPR league, and the roster format is the same as always here, as we have one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a kicker, a defense, and then 6 bench spots. So how we're going to do it, we're going to be picking from the 1.04 and seeing which one of these wide receivers are going to be our hero wide receiver moving forward. So looking at how the draft board has shaped out for us here so far, so Jamar Chase is the 1.01, Bijan Robinson is the 102, and Christian McCaffrey at the 1.03 is a little bit surprised to me. I would have thought that we would have seen a Saquon Barkley or Jahmyr Gibbs at the 103. And looking at the available wide receivers, the top suggestion at the moment is Justin Jefferson at 52% from the experts. But outside of that, in tier 1 is CeeDee Lamb, and we're going to have CeeDee Lamb be our quote-unquote hero wide receiver in this. And before we make our pick, how this hero wide receivers draft strategy is going to work for you, specifically in the first round. Say if you have an early round pick in the first round, you're going to go either with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, or CeeDee Lamb. But if you're in the back half of your draft, whether that's a 10-team or a 12-team, you're going to be going with guys like Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, and even Brian Thomas too. So how we're going to be starting today is we're going to be picking off with CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver from the Dallas Cowboys. I have him as my wide receiver 2, just behind Jamar Chase. I do have Justin Jefferson as my wide receiver 3. So it's more of your preference, or do you want CeeDee Lamb, or do you want Justin Jefferson to start off this draft? So as we continue on now, so that's going to be our hero wide receiver. Now the rest of these rounds that we're going to be tackling over the next couple of rounds, are we going to be going with the running back position, the tight end position, or even the quarterback position if one of those elite quarterbacks are available to us. So how the rest of the first round went, Justin Jefferson went after us, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, and Amon-Ra closed out the first round. The second round, they did have 2 running backs off the board with Derrick Henry and Ashton Jeanty. Then we have wide receiver run, which was good enough for us because we have our hero wide receiver already in place. But Nico Collins, Drake London, Brian Thomas, and A.J. Brown went all before us. So now we want to go after our running back position. Looking at the available running backs, are Devon Achane and Chase Brown. I would be overjoyed if we could get both of those. But I am going to go with Chase Brown, actually, as our running back 1, and hopefully that we get Devon Achane coming up in the turn. If we don't, then we could always go with the tight end or the quarterback position. But I'm going to go with Chase Brown here. I think that he has shown it last season. He has the upside. The Bengals, like I mentioned over the past couple of mock drafts that we've done, are going to be one of the more high-scoring offenses in the NFL. And Chase Brown, as a running back, both can do it on the ground and also in the receiving game. I definitely think that he's going to be one of those elite receiving running backs in fantasy football. So Chase Brown is going to operate as our RB1 in this scenario. So we're going to go ahead and skip through, and looks like Devon Achane, unfortunately, went off the board for us, but that's okay. So looking at the draft board, after us, Ladd McConkey, Devon Achane, and Bucky Irvin close out the second round. Brock Bowers, Josh Jacobs, and Trey McBride. So it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get one of those 2 elite tight ends. So right now, how our team is built right now is our hero wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, and then we have Chase Brown being our running back. So now, like I mentioned, we were going to go with tight end here, but with Brock Bowers and Trey McBride already being gone. So now we can look at the quarterback position here in round number 3. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jane Daniels, and Jalen Hurts are all still available. So we could get either of those guys. But I'm going to go with a guy that I have been picking over the past couple of mock drafts. That's Alvin Kamara. I know the offense isn't going to be great, but I think that he gives you that upside in the receiving game, because looking at the receivers, you have Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. And what has Alvin Kamara done over the past couple of seasons? He's really been outstanding in the passing game too. So I think that even in a bad offense this season, I think that Alvin Kamara is still going to provide that value as our RB2. We're going to go ahead and take him right here with the 3.04. So now we're going to see how the quarterbacks are going to be shaping out. That's probably going to go with either, now that we have two running backs and a receiver, we could either go with the tight end position or go with the quarterback position. But let's go ahead before we make our pick and get accustomed to see how the draft board is going. So after us, Jonathan Taylor. So there goes another running back. Jackson Smith and Jigba with the Seattle Seahawks goes at 306. Garrett Wilson at 307. Brees all at 308. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. So two of the elite top four quarterbacks are off the board there at the end of the third round. Kyron Williams, Tyreek Hill, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, T. Higgins, and Devontae Adams. So now, looking on our team, we have CeeDee Lamb as our wide receiver, and then we have Chase Brown and Alvin Kamara. So now I think that we definitely need to take this opportunity to get one of these elite quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. I think you can go with either or here, whether that's Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels. Both provide that elite rushing upside. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels here. So Jaden Daniels is going to be our quarterback one here on this build, and now we can kind of see where we're going. We could either fill out our flex, get one of those elite tight ends, or if we have a receiver that we really like to be our wide receiver too, we could do that as well. So looking at the draft board after us, you have Rashee Rice, Joe Burrow, and Terry McLaurin. So both wide receivers still have some question marks. Rashee Rice, how long is the suspension going to be for him, and when does it come down? Joe Burrow is definitely a phenomenal pick after us. Jalen Hurts didn't even go, so honestly, we could have waited at the 504 and still got Jalen Hurts. Terry McLaurin still holding out for a contract of the Washington Commanders. And looking at the start of the fifth round, you had Amari Hampton, the rookie running back from the Chargers, Marvin Harrison, and James Conner. So let's go ahead and look through the suggestions here. So the available wide receivers at this point, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and Cortland Sutton. And then the top tight end, I think we're going to go with one of my top tight ends in fantasy football this season. That's George Kittle, especially with the loss of Deebo Samuel. You have Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall will be your top two wide receivers. Christian McCaffrey, you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. That would only help that offense. But I think that at this point, go with one of those elite tight ends. If you miss Brock Bowers, if you miss Trey McBride, I think that George Kittle is the next step after them. So let's go through the draft board. Looks like Jalen Hurts went immediately after Russ. Jubal Hubbard, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Travion Henderson, and Joe Mixon finishes out the fifth round. DK Metcalf, RJ Harvey, two more tight ends went off the board, both at 603 and 604, of both Travis Kelce and Evan Ingram. Another quarterback went off the board at 605, then David Montgomery, at 606. So far, looking at our team, our wide receiver one is CeeDee Lamb. Two running backs we have is Chase Brown and Alvin Kamara. Starting quarterback is Jaden Daniels and George Kittle. Now in the sixth round, we can go back to our wide receiver two, and I'm not going to take too much time on this pick. It suggests to me to go Cortland Sutton, and that's exactly who I'm going to be going with. I think that he has definitely been a consistent wide receiver. And looking at this Denver Broncos offense, he did add more weapons, especially at the tight end position with Evan Ingram. Then the running back position more than likely to be overtaken by the running back out of UCF and RJ Harvey. But I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. I think that Bo Nix's connection with Cortland Sutton is only going to get better and better as they get more reps throughout the season. So that is going to be our wide receiver two now. So looking back at the draft board, after Cortland Sutton, you had Zay Flowers, which, to be honest with you, is not a very good pick here in fantasy football this season. Ted McMillan, definitely could have went with him, the rookie running wide receiver from the Panthers. And then Jalen Waddle finishes out the sixth round. And then Baker Mayfield and Bo Nix go both at the 701 and 703. And sandwiched in between both of those quarterback picks is DeAndre Swift. So looking at the roster, our roster is pretty much filled out at this point. We do have a quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, a tight end, and now all we need is our flex. So the flex position, if you're looking for a running back, you could definitely go with Aaron Jones Sr. here. He's definitely going to be a viable RB option. Isaiah Pacheco, too. You could get him, too. Wide receivers right now, you have Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy. But I'm going to go with a guy that I really like this season. That is Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. I think that he is just setting up for a breakout season. I know you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, but looking at Jameson Williams, the first two seasons, he really didn't play that much coming off that ACL injury that he suffered in Alabama, coming off his rookie season, and then the gambling suspension, And then last season, he had a fully healthy season, and he had easily over 1,000 yards. I could see that as well. But with the touchdowns going even up, especially with this Lions offense. I know that they lost Ben Johnson, but I do expect the Lions offense to be pretty good this season. Now let's go back to the draft board to see how these last two rounds went with 7 in the 8th round. So after Jameson Williams, Devontae Smith, and Xavier Worthy went after us, so a little bit of wide receiver run there happening in the 7th round. Kyler Murray, Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tony Pollard finished out the 7th round. Starting off the 8th round, we had a run on running backs with both Caleb Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, Brian Robinson, and Travis Etienne. George Pickens and Calvin Ridley. Oh, man, I hate that George Pickens went off the board because I'm also very high on him heading into this fantasy season. But our wide receivers so far, Courtland Sutton, Jameson Williams, and CeeDee Lamb, which is pretty good so far. So now we can pretty much do whatever we want here, whether we could get more wide receiver positions or go to the running back position. I think Travion Henderson is already off the board. So I'm going to go with a little handcuff in Minnesota. And that's going to be Jordan Mason. I think that he's going to be a solid handcuff. And if Aaron Jones Sr. Goes out with an injury, he is for sure going to be that running back 1 in Minnesota. So going through the draft board even further here as we get into the later rounds here. After Mason, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren, Tyjae Spears. Look at this run on running backs here. In the 8th and the early 9th round, Ramondre Stevenson, J.K. Dobbins, and Zach Charbonnet continue the running back run here. So at the 904, looking at the suggestions, we can really go anywhere here. I think in the tight end position, we don't really need a backup tight end at the moment. We do have Jane Daniels. But looking at the quarterbacks here, if we didn't get Jane Daniels, I would be really happy if we got Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy in this situation. So I'm going to go with another wide receiver here. And I'm not going to go with any of these guys, but I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver 1 of the New England Patriots. I think that this is going to be a more improved offense, especially with the addition of Travion Henderson and Drake May in his 2nd season with this system. I think that this offense is going to get even better. And looking at the wide receivers, I see another guy that I'm very high on here in the 10-07. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. So we are continuing our run here on wide receivers. So let's go ahead and look back at the draft board to see how things are starting to shape out here as we get to the end of this draft. So after Myers went, you saw Josh Downs go, Deebo Samuel, and Rome Odunze. So look at that run of wide receivers that you had in the 10th round. Pretty much the only non-wide receiver in the 10th round was Jared Goff, but you had Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp, Jaden Reed, Jacoby Myers, who went to our team, and Josh Downs, Deebo Samuel, and Rome Odunze, all wide receivers that went in the 10th round. And to start the 11th round, Tank Bigsby, who's going to be the handcuff to Travis Etienne. Maybe he can even take over that starting role, depending on how that offense shapes out this season. Matthew Golden, the rookie wide receiver of the Packers, goes at 11:02, and Austin Eckler goes at 11:03. So the running backs are starting to thin out here. I think that we go away from the receivers, and I'm going to go with another guy that kind of is going to go with a handcuff here, and Ray Davis of the Buffalo Bills. Ray Davis, like I mentioned, I pick him in multiple mock drafts so far that he has provided that upside, especially in the receiving department. And we saw him whenever James Cook wasn't on the field last season that he was able to produce in a really talented offense. So now let's see how many roster spots that we have left here on the bench. So it looks like we have 2 more bench spots here. So we could either go with more just depth at the wide receiver and running back position, or we could just I think we're going to go with another rookie here, Jaden Blue. Yeah, I mean, Javonte Williams at the start of the season is going to be RB1, but I really like the upside that Jaden Blue brings to the table of this Dallas Cowboys offense. And I think to close out this one, we're going to go with a backup tight end here, or go with a backup quarterback. I think we're going to go with a backup quarterback here. I really like both Brock Purdy and Cale Williams, but let's go with Cale Williams here just for the upside. I mean, Ben Johnson, it doesn't matter which quarterback is in that offense. I think that Cale Williams, especially with the addition of Ben Johnson, what he was able to provide with the Lions, I think that Cale Williams in his 2nd season going to win with Brock Purdy there, but I decided to change it up. I've been going with Brock Purdy in the other mock drafts. So we're going to be going with Caleb Williams, the second-year quarterback from the Chicago Bears. So that is pretty much all of our roster so far. Now we just need to fill out both the defense and the kicker. And we're going to go with the Houston Texans defense to be our starting defense in this format. And now we need to pick a kicker. And I'm pretty much just going to go with the best available, and that's going to be Cameron Dicker, the kicker from the Los Angeles Chargers. You also have Kymie Fairbairn, Will Lutz, and Chris Boswell available. We're just going to go with the best available here, and that being Dicker, the kicker from the Los Angeles Chargers. So looking at this hero wide receiver strategy, this is our roster. So our starting quarterback is Jaden Daniels. Two running backs are Chase Brown and Alvin Kamara. CeeDee Lamb, who's going to be that hero wide receiver for you in this type of strategy. Wide receiver 2 is Courtland Sutton. Starting tight end is George Kittle. Our flex is Jameson Williams. So we're kind of stacking up the wide receiver position at the flex. Houston Texans are starting defense. The kicker is Cameron Dicker from the Chargers. And then looking at the bench spots, you have Jordan Mason, Stephon Diggs, Jacoby Myers, Ray Davis, Jaden Blue, as well as Caleb Williams. So that is how our roster was shaped out in this hero wide receiver draft strategy. Let me know how you're attacking this strategy and if you're implementing it in your own fantasy leagues this season. Next mock draft, we'll be looking at the hero running back strategy. So definitely tune into that, and we'll have more mock drafts over the next couple of weeks leading up to week number 1 of the NFL season. So I appreciate everybody for tuning into today's video, and I'll catch you all next time. So long for now.